So I see people are coming on in. Welcome. If you came for culinary medicine, you are in the right place. We are going to get started just because this is a nice class. It's 5 o'clock. We do have a big class. So what we will ask is if you don't mind staying muted to minimize the background noise, and if we can have everyone's camera off so we can focus on Chef Alyssa and her food, that would be fantastic. Please, if you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to chat. There's a chat box to the right of your screen, and you can chat in, and you can also, we can have our hands raised and if you have questions. So let's just take a moment for the people who are here. Let's just practice raising our hands. How many people are kind of excited and hungry to learn these new recipes? Just see by hands up. Let's see how people are. They've got can figure out where it is. Oh, look at this group's good. And then when you're done, you just press the hands. You press the hands again, and it'll take your hand down. So well done. I'm glad you guys have that down. So I want to just take a moment to introduce ourselves. My name is Allison Welch, and I'm going to be facilitating this session. I am one of the health education coordinators on the island, Big Island, and Heather Charles, who is the other coordinator. She's not here tonight, but she will be, she's one of the coordinators as well. As people are coming in, I'm going to ask everyone if you don't mind turning off your camera and turning your microphones to mute, that would be fantastic, just so it's a really big class and it helps the bandwidth. So before I kind of go any farther, I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable. And if for any reason you notice, oh, I've been muted, realize we might mute you just because it helps us in the background. So just want to go from there, but I really do want to introduce Chef Alyssa. Alyssa has been a personal chef for 25 years. She combines amazing flavors and great nutrition, and we're really excited to have you here. So we're going to turn it over to her in a moment, but you guys are here probably because you want to get some great ideas and new plant-based recipes, and Chef Alyssa is the one that's going to help us do it. We do this class on the last Monday of every month, my favorite Monday, and we know that eating plant-based meals and getting your more vegetables on your plate is important. But did you know that it's really the only diet that's shown to reverse coronary artery disease? And it's one of the leading causes of heart disease is coronary artery disease. And that's responsible for 1 in every 4 deaths in people over 35. So I know we can't change a lot of things, but changing some of our eating styles can really improve your health and wellness. And so that's part of what we want to do today. And on the screen, you're going to see 3 statements that to live by. It's my favorite. And it's by an American author and journalist, Michael Pollan, who's written a lot of books on health and food. And he coined the simple phrase, eat foods, whole foods, not too much, and mostly plants. And if you do that, it's the steps to getting you in the right direction to having a healthy plate. So that's really what this class is all about. Is bringing together plant-based nutrition and culinary skills to empower you to take charge of your health. So most people know that vegetables are good for them, yet very few of us are eating them. And we aren't sure, maybe a major barrier has been that we don't look at these foods as delicious, or we get a little overwhelmed and scared. And we want to change that in your mind and get you to think of this as experiencing new healthy food. So now we acknowledge that there's a lot of people attending tonight, and not everyone is going to want to be plant-based. But we do know that if you're here, hoping that you're wanting to think about getting more veggies onto that plate. So to get started, I just want to remind everyone as you come in, if you can mute coming in, just so we don't have a lot of background noise. What I'd like to do is before we jump in, is show a short clip about what the Healthy Plate is about. And I'm also going to add in afterward a link. It's the Stanford has put together a series called Food and Health, and it's a series of 17 videos that range in length from 3 to 5 minutes, and they really give you some great skills and information how all of us can eat healthier. So what do you think, May? What do you think, John? What do you think, Alyssa? I think we should jump in and show the video. Anything I forgot?
Sure.
Anything I should add? Guys with me? All right, let's do
Sound
it.
good? Yep.
Okay, so let me know if you can see this, and then May, I'm going to have you let me know if you can hear it, okay?
A healthy meal begins with assembling a
Can
healthy
you hear it?
plate. And before you
Yes.
bring
All right,
anything to
let's
that
take a
plate,
watch.
it might be worthwhile to buy a set of smaller dinner plates, cups, and glasses. Interestingly, many hardware stores sell these very inexpensively, but they're harder to find in fancy kitchen stores, mostly because small plates have gone out of style.
One of the reasons we like to obsess about nutrients, and the industry likes to obsess about nutrients, it's a way of distracting us from the quantities of food we're eating. And we are eating more. I mean, the supersizing has made plate sizes bigger, soda sizes are bigger. I mean, the portions from when I was a kid have been doubled, you know. And the bigger the portion, the more you will eat.
So, size matters when it comes to your plate. But once you've found a reasonably sized plate, the first step in constructing the meal should be deciding, what is my vegetable component of this meal going to be? We tend to start by thinking about the protein when we're planning a meal. If we can think of the vegetables as the feature, then the entire meal will likely end up being healthier. The plate itself should consist of about 1/2 plant-based food, ideally with a mix of different colored vegetables. Different colored vegetables contain different micronutrients, so eating a variety of them maximizes our nutrient coverage. In general, eating a variety of foods is also beneficial because it minimizes the chances of getting sick from potential contaminants in any one food. The remaining 1/2 of the plate should be equally divided into whole grains and lean, protein-rich foods. These foods can come from animal sources or plant sources, but again, variety is good. Eating chicken every night of the week is almost certainly not the best way to stay healthy or excited about your next meal. Most of the time, the best drink to quench thirst and keep us hydrated and healthy is plain, clean water. The human body is made up of more than 50% water, so don't forget to replace it during mealtime. Drinking water before each meal may even be helpful for weight management. The variations are endless, but getting into the habit of creating a healthy plate, sitting down for meal times, and taking time to enjoy our meals, these are the pearls of wisdom our great grandmothers wore every day.
I hope everyone saw that and could hear that. And I think what's so nice about that video is it's a good reminder, eat foods, not so much mostly plants. And if you can start by thinking about looking down at this beautiful healthy plate and going, is there a lot of color looking back at me? So Chef Alyssa is going to help us with that. She's going to help us get some ideas on some good choices. Chef, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put back up the PowerPoint and I'm going to add or put our recipe up there. And would you
Okay.
mind going over our recipe? So let me get that back up.
Okay.
I feel like a little magician, and then we can see if we've got it. Sorry, it was very soft. And also, I'm going to put the link in for those Stanford videos because they're really great. They're YouTube videos, and I'm going to put
I can
that
do
in there.
that for
So
you,
if you,
Alex.
yep, oh, I just got it in. So
Okay.
if you didn't hear it and you want to watch it later and you want some great ideas, let us know. So hang on one second as the video comes back up. And May, you're going to be my touchstone for this class of asking if you can see the PowerPoint, if you can
Yep.
hear us okay.
Yep.
Great. So what I'm going to do, Chef, is I'm going to put on our first recipe. And again, you guys, you got this in the link. Don't worry so much if you don't have it printed up, but this is what Chef Alyssa is going to cook for us tonight. So go ahead, Alyssa.
Okay. So we're going to do roasted kabocha pumpkin with the red bell pepper and leek. And we're going to mix it with, toss it with some garlic, olive oil, cumin, salt, and cayenne or other little spicy, whatever kind of a spicy spice you have. And then we have cannellini beans, which I'll show you what they look like, or Great Northern. And we'll talk about that. Some sesame seeds that are toasted, cilantro or parsley, depending upon, you know, what you prefer or possibly what you have on hand. And then we're going to roast that, toss it together, roast it. And then we're going to, after it's roasted, we will make a dressing and pour some of the dressing on. And the dressing has olive oil, rice vinegar, shoyu or Bragg's liquid aminos, honey or agave, and then juice of a lime. So that's what we'll be doing first.
Okay, fantastic. And just as I see new people joining in, please don't forget to mute as you come in. And if you could turn your cameras off so we can put all of the attention to our chef, that would be great. Thank you. Do you want to go over the second recipe now, or do you want to do that? Want me to pull it up afterward?
Either way is fine.
I think we
Whatever's
should,
easiest for you.
yeah, let's do it now. Let's kind of go over the
Okay.
recipe, and then we can have discussion while you're cooking. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Fantastic.
So for this second recipe, we have 3 different kinds of beans. We have navy beans, kidney beans, and garbanzo beans. And so you're going to put those in a bowl, and you're basically going to chop up an onion, red onion, and we're going to soak it in water to take out some of the bite from the onion, the rawness. We've got celery and cilantro that's chopped up, fresh rosemary. And then we have a vinaigrette made with apple cider vinegar, agave, olive oil, salt, and pepper. It's a nice, simple recipe. We're just going to combine everything in a bowl, and then we're going to let it set, and the flavors develop as they sit overnight. So that's the second one we're going to do.
That's fantastic. And I think what's so nice is that sometimes we get stuck with wondering what flavor combinations we should do, how we should cook, and that's what's so nice about it. So I'm going to take the recipe down right now. I'm going to have, hopefully everyone can now see in the center of their screen, and with a show of hands, if you guys could do your hands up, if you see Chef's beautiful setup of the food in the middle. Wonderful. So Chef, the floor is yours, and we see your beautiful food. If you didn't see the recipe for the bean salad, I will pull it up at the end, and you should also, Roberta, have the link in your email. So go, it's all yours.
All right. So what we're going to start out with is a kabocha pumpkin, also known as a squash. It's a Japanese, it's also known as a Japanese pumpkin. I just wanted to show you it looks kind of dark green and orange on the outside. And it's sometimes got some bumps. I've been told if you if you're holding a couple and trying to decide which one to buy, the heavier ones have more meat, are better. I'm not quite sure, maybe more dense. They do come all different ways, but this is a nice one. This is nice and orange. Not very, sometimes they're a little paler and they don't have as much flavor. So I cut it, I put it on the cutting board, and I just cut off part of it, around the stem, because the stem can make it kind of hard to cut. The other way you can do it is you can cut off part of it, put it down flat, and then you can cut that stem off. And then you'll have more surface to work with. The stem can kind of get in the way. So we're going to work with kabocha. This one, I took the seeds out, and I have peeled it. If it's organic, you don't need to peel it. And a lot of local Japanese dishes sometimes leave the skin on. But I did notice that this is waxed. So I'm sure it's some sort of edible safe wax, but I just figured I would peel it off. So I went ahead and peeled it. We can talk a little bit more about cutting if we have time afterwards, but I just wanted to show you that I cut them all in about 1-inch pieces. Just try to make them about the same size so they'll cook evenly. So I'm going to put that in the bowl. And then I have some red bell pepper that I cut up. I'm going to put that in the bowl.
Hey, as you're doing that, can I ask you a quick question before you move forward?
Yes.
Is there a way to tell that your pumpkin is ripe enough, or you know, before you go on? Like I was noticing as you're putting it in, do you knock on it, or how, like if someone was shopping for their pumpkin, something you look for,
Uh,
chef?
I don't knock on it. I kind of weigh the two of them if I'm holding a couple and just trying to see which ones feel denser and heavier. Uh, I also have heard that if they're not really pretty, you know, like the sometimes the skins on the newer ones can just be like all just smooth and kind of this green brown. But if you get the ones that have like more lump and bumps, I've heard that I mean, I'm open to whatever people have to share, but that's what I've heard as far as picking kabochas.
Thank
Um,
you. And
yeah,
people, please chat it in. If you guys have anything that you know, please feel free to chat because we can all see the chats. Thanks, Chef.
yeah. Then we can share. So, and then what I have here is a leek, and I wanted to show you what a leek is. A leek is in the onion family, so it's like looks like a really big green onion. So this you can use regular onion or you can use a leek. This is the bottom part of the leek that I've chopped up. So I'm going to put that in here. One of the things about leeks is that they can, within their leaves, they can hold dirt. So it's really important to make sure that you wash your leek well in between all of the little leaves because it can be hiding in there. So generally I will cut it in half here, you know, like a half moon, and then I'll peel it away and put it under running water. So if that's any help. So we
We do
have
have
a
a
leek.
question. Yeah.
Chef,
We have
Yes.
one
yeah.
quick question. Do you mind? How do you get rid of the wax on fruits and vegetables? Do you have a trick for that, or do you tell them just not to eat it? I might interrupt you with some questions as they come in.
No, that's fine. I really don't have a trick. I just generally cut it off and decide not to eat it. I think there are vegetable washes. I mean, I know there are vegetable washes out there, but whether they're strong enough to take off wax, I'm not sure. I'm open to what other people might know about that. I just
Thanks.
avoid it. Yeah. Any other questions?
That's good so far. I just think it is good for us to all remember it is important to wash our vegetables and have everything, you
Mhm.
know, clean
Yes.
when you're working.
Yes. Okay. So we've got the leek in it, the red bell pepper, the kabocha. I've got some garlic that I've cut up. So I'm going to put the garlic in there. And then I have olive oil. I'm going to pour my little bit of olive oil over here. And I have some cumin, salt, and some chili pepper. So I'm going to put that in. And just for the purposes of the class, I want you to know I'm doing half a recipe because I'm trying to be mindful of the cost of ingredients as well as, so I cooked half the recipe and this is half. So you'll just get an idea of the volume. You might think that this looks like not a lot, but this is 2 cups of kabocha, half a cup of red bell pepper, half a leek. So I'm doing half, 1 teaspoon garlic. Okay, so I'm tossing this all together. Cumin smells really good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on some parchment lined, a baking sheet. Like that. And then I'm going to roast it in the oven. I have a little toaster oven that I use for most of my cooking. So I'm just going to kind of flatten it out a bit so it'll cook evenly. And then what I did was, you know, like I said, I cooked part of it earlier. You cook it for about at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. If it feels like, you know, then I poke the kabocha pieces. If they feel like they're still kind of firm, or, you know, I put one in my mouth and just, I mean, taste one piece. And if it feels like it needs a little more cooking, I actually put another layer of parchment over it and just baked it for 10 more minutes to try and keep the heat in. You could also just leave it for the residual heat in the oven will continue the baking. So that's another option that you can do.
It's great. We have a
Uh,
couple
def-
more questions
Couple.
for you. Oh, sorry, May.
Okay.
Um, I don't care for cumin. Any alternatives? What do you
Oh,
recommend? That's
yeah.
one question.
Yes, you could do the one if you like coriander, you could do coriander, but I know they're kind of similar. You could do turmeric, olena. You could also do, if you want to do a different flavor profile, you could do paprika or smoked paprika. And then if you wanted to do a different profile, you could do oregano or thyme. So, I mean, you could really do whatever your heart's desire. And also you could do Italian seasoning, a mixed Italian seasoning. They would all be wonderful in this recipe.
Great. We have another question also about, can you do this without oil? For some people who are not using oil,
Sure.
just, yeah.
Yes, yes, you can. So what my suggestion would be was that in place of the olive oil, you would do a little bit of broth. So you would toss it with some vegetable broth. If you feel like you need to toss a little, you could do 1 to 2 tablespoons, enough to just coat everything. That would be the way to bake it and have a little moisture there to help with the cooking process.
Fantastic. Thanks.
And there
You're
was one other
welcome.
question about, and I'm sorry if I missed this, about using an air fryer.
No. And Allison, do you have an air fryer? Can you step in? I'm sorry, I do not have one. I do have a
So,
convection,
yep.
but I do not have the air fryer.
So Heather, she uses the air fryer a lot. So they do get some good results. You have to know your air fryer. It's going to be a little bit different texture. But we have Heather, who is one of the facilitators with our class. She swears by her air fryer and uses it for a lot of things. So you can use it. It might change it a little. I would say, just like anything, trial and error is always fun. If you've got one, give it a try. We also have another question. Can you use onions instead of leeks? So this is the
Yes,
joy of
yes, you
cooking,
can.
right? Yep.
You can definitely use an onion instead of leek. I think leek is just a little bit more of a gentler flavor, but they're all in the same family. So, green onions, leeks. You could not roast the onion or leek, and you could add green onions at the end. You could do it that way. There's all kinds of variations, whatever you have and however you like your flavorings. Plug it in.
All right. Thanks. Good answers. Keep the questions coming, you guys.
All right. So, okay. So at this point in time, then what I would do is I would take this and I put it in my oven and I would bake it off until the kabocha is nice and soft and to tooth. What's it called? Tooth bite? What do they call that? To teeth? To tooth? So it's cooked. And then here is the cooked version. So you see it kind of shrinks. But what you can see is the kabocha, you can pierce it real easy. Yeah. And it looks different. And just to give you an eyeball. Okay.
And it's a pretty firm
yes, yes.
food.
Yes,
So
it
don't be
is.
worried about that. Like when you pierce it and it feels hard, it's still pretty firm.
I would kind of equate it to like a sweet potato. It's got that same kind of texture and the time, at the same amount of time that you would have to cook it if you have, familiar with cooking sweet potatoes. So I'm going to just take this parchment paper and I'm going to just put it in a bowl. So I've got my cooked, roasted vegetables. And then I'm going to add in my cannellini beans. Cannellini beans are kind of like white, soft kidney beans. So they're shaped like kidney beans, but they're softer. They're just a little bit softer, but they are wonderful in all kinds of salads. They just blend well flavor-wise. But you could plug in any kind of bean you like in here. You could do chickpeas, you could do kidney beans, you could do Great Northern, which are like a sister to cannellini beans, very similar, a little different in color. So really, again, you can plug in whatever you like. Then I have some toasted sesame seeds. So I toasted them on my skillet on top of my stovetop. And I have some nice fresh chopped cilantro, also known as Chinese parsley.
We have a question. Do you cook the beans first?
Nope, the beans are canned, and I opened the can and I rinsed and drained it. Yeah.
They're really creamy. You know, that's what I love about those beans. They have that great texture.
Yes, I do too. I just love their texture. And then what we've got here is I had combined it. So I have olive oil, rice vinegar, Bragg's, and then agave. And then I have a juice of a lime in here. Again, this is half a recipe. And then just pour over, maybe start with half of it. See what you know, how much you want. You can always add more as it, you know, it sits and absorbs the flavors. But you can see you've got some juice down there. And it's wonderful because then you can put it on lettuce, you know, a bit of lettuce, or even if you did a side of another grain or something, it would absorb in and add extra flavor. So I'm going to put that in a bowl.
So we have another question while you're getting that. Can you use a sugar substitute for honey or agave? Can you? What do you think about that? Or not use any?
No, it's a very. Is that me making that noise? Sorry.
That's okay.
I can't tell. I mean, I keep hearing. Sorry, I keep hearing a noise, but I don't think it's me. Sugar substitute. Sure, you could. You know, really whatever you like to work with. If you're familiar with using like monk fruit, you could add in monk fruit. Some people like, you know, they're all different, but usually monk fruit and I'm not a big fan of like Splenda, but erythritol. Some of those are like 1-to-1 sugar equivalents. They're dry though, so you would probably have to see how it would dissolve. That I don't know. I've done a little with monk fruit, but not a lot. I have used stevia in the past. I mean, I still use liquid stevia for myself, but you know, the different brands they have, they vary widely with how sweet they are. So you gotta really read the label, and I would definitely start very conservatively so you don't overdo it, because some of the they can have some after, how would you call that, right? So they have a taste. Yeah, some of it is just kind of intense.
Okay, we got another question. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I know a lot of people might be looking at this for not having oils, but can you do dressing without oil? Should you add something else if you choose not to use the oil?
Oh, okay. So we're talking about this dressing. So you could do a little bit of apple juice, and then you wouldn't have to really worry about the sweetener. That would kind of take care of two birds with one stone. Or you could also, again, use some broth. It'd have to be a pretty mild one, maybe a homemade vegetable broth that's chilled. You could do that. I'm trying to think what else. You know, there are some recipes that call for things like just using things like vegetable juices. You know, it could be like a watered down carrot juice, or it could be a watered down tomato juice, right? To give it just a little bit of flavor, but not overwhelming flavor. And then you can use that to be, you know, part of the binding agent. Hopefully that helps.
Great. Great answers in there. And you know what I like also, what you're showing right there is look at how colorful that is. We're really talking about the healthy plate. When you look down, do you see a lot of color looking back at you? That
Mm-hmm.
has got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of gorgeous color. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you. All right. So any other questions about, gosh, any of it? We can show a little bit about, well, the kabocha. It's pretty simple. Some people like to, and I'm not a big microwave fan, but some people believe in microwaving it for a couple minutes, and then it will soften the skin, and then you can peel it easier from there. I always try and do the slice part of it off and then start working on it off of a flat surface. This one's actually kind of soft, which is really nice. It's cutting through real easily. Sometimes they're really thick and dense.
So I think, did you say in the beginning when you first get it, you cut the top off to make it sort
Mm-hmm.
of a surface that's flat so it doesn't
Right.
roll, right? The top and bottom, like she
Yeah,
was
and then
saying. I love
just
that you're
to,
showing that.
so you don't have to worry about the stem too. And then you can work around it because this can get in the way, you know, it could hurt your knife. I'm always worried about, you know, I don't want to hurt my knife. You know, some of these knives that are thin and have a sharp point, you can actually break the tip off of your knife if you're, you know, if you've got a really hard kabocha. So I'm always, you know, I'm trying to be mindful. I love my knives. When I was working for a while at KCC, my boss would do, he would cut like an X around here, and then he would pop it off that way. He was really good at that. But that's another way is you can, you know, pull it off like that. But my home style way of doing it is just to make sure I have a flat surface, and then I just keep slowly moving around and cutting off the peel, being mindful of where the knife is and where my hands are, because you know I cut myself too. It's not like yeah. I'm human. So yeah, I just keep doing that all the way through. So I just keep trying to find a flat surface, cut them in even chunks. And that's kind of how I do it. One of the things I used to have that I loved was I used to use an ice cream scoop to get the seeds out. And I had one that had kind of like little ridges in it. So it would get all of the, like the skin and everything too. But somehow that disappeared. So yeah, if you can, you might want to scoop and clean this out a little bit more.
That's great.
Depends. Yeah.
We did have a question. So, Vivian asked, how big is your toaster oven? Do you have a big one for when you're cooking in it?
I have a toaster oven that's a Breville, and it is also a convection, and it will not hold a 9 by 13. I was looking at some online, and yeah, some of them are pretty big. But it will hold a half a sheet pan, and that's really important to me. So I get a lot of cooking done with these half sheet pans. They're great, and it'll hold a pie plate, and it'll hold a 8 by 8, you know, square pan. So it's perfect for what I do.
They're really handy. It's amazing. My children make
Oh,
fun of me because we got a new stove and oven about 6 months ago, and we haven't used it because we had that one on our counter, and we got so used
yeah.
to using it, and they're really good now. And it's just, they make fun of us all the time. We use our main stove for like holidays now because those little ones really do
Oh,
the trick. So
they
that's a great
do.
question. Um,
Hmm.
Perfect. All right. Any
So
other questions for Chef about this recipe?
I'm going to start while you're fielding questions. I'm going to do a quick changeover.
That's perfect.
Okay.
So again, you do have this recipe as she's getting it set. I guess one of the questions that we have gotten in another class is if you can't find this pumpkin, what's a great substitute? What would you say would be another, instead of just kabocha? I know this is a kabocha recipe, but if you're really excited and want to try this, do the flavors work on most of them?
I would say that the first thing would be a butternut squash. That would be my first choice as an alternate. Would be the butternut because it's and that's easy to work with. Usually when I'm choosing a butternut, I try and make sure, you know, it has that round bulb and then it's got the long part. Yeah. Again, you want to kind of weigh them and get the denser one. But I always try and get the one that has more of, I don't want to say bulb, what? So there's the long part and there's the more bulby part. So I'm always trying to get ones that's kind of long. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I have, gosh, I have bought butternuts that are like starting to get, I don't want to say mealy, but they get kind of almost hollow on the inside of this. You know, they get old. So definitely the heavier the ones, they tend to be denser. That would be my first thought. What else? Oh, you know, it's sometimes, and I haven't seen it in a while, but during the wintertime when they have all the different winter squashes, there's one called a red curry, Kuri. And that one's really nice too. It's very similar to kabocha, but it's darker orange, but it's got a great flavor. So that would be another thought if you can find it.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's great. Okay, I just want to double check. We had a few people, you might have had your hands up from before. Oh, sorry. Thank you, May. I probably wrote that. My spelling's terrible. But Marianne or Juanita, Sylvia, I saw your hands were up. Any questions or before we move on to our next recipe? Another thing I'd like to add while you're getting this all set up, as someone who's newer to cooking, is being prepped and ready and making things clean and all organized. It really makes a difference, doesn't it, to have it? I know you're a chef, so you're used to that. But for so many of us, when we get overwhelmed and we have a can open here and this over there and we don't know where it is or the recipe's there, it gets a little, you can get really overwhelmed. So just looking at your setup makes me feel calm and ready to cook.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, it definitely helps, and to just kind of clean as you go, so your counters don't get kind of nuts, you know, which I do depending upon what's going on. But it definitely is nice to wash and put things away and not have things pile up. I agree.
Fantastic. Well, let's jump into our next recipe. Let's do our bean salad.
Okay. Okay, so what we have here is I'm going to put this a little closer. These are navy beans. So if you're not familiar with navy beans, sometimes baked beans are made with navy beans. Bean soup. What kind of bean soup? Trying to think. A lot of bean soups have like navy beans. So they're kind of a soft white bean, but they're small compared to, like you can see next to the kidney beans. They're quite different in size. Let me see if I can get any kind of a better than my palm. Here, I'll do that. Yeah, so if I go closer, can you kind of see the size? Oh, size difference?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so they're kind of tiny, but they're soft and pliable. And then there's the chickpeas, which I think most people know about chickpeas because, boy, they're versatile. Okay, so I've got actually a can of each that have been rinsed and drained. And then I have half of a red onion. And I was having this conversation with Allison before class because, you know, there's onions can come in all kinds of sizes. So this onion was probably, this is probably a good half a cup to a cup. This is a half of the onion that I bought. And what I did was I soaked it in water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain it through into a bowl. And what This isn't necessary, but if you're not, it just kind of takes the bite out of raw onion. If it sits in the water, it just kind of calms down all of that raw onion intensity. All right, and then I have 2 celery stalks, which comes out to be about a little more than a cup. Again, if you like lots of celery, you know, this is all subjective. So these recipes are kind of like templates. So you can do whatever you like. If you like lots of celery, you can add more. You can add some grated carrot. You could just, you know, play with this. Then I have a cup of loosely packed cilantro. If you're not a cilantro fan, you could use parsley. You could do dill, fresh dill. That's always nice too. And then I've got a little bit of fresh rosemary that I chopped up fine. Rosemary just gives a nice little hit. And so I've got that chopped up fine so that you'll get that running through when you're taking bites, just little bits of rosemary. And rosemary is so good for you. It's a antiviral. It's just, yeah, it's wonderful in like soups and anything with beans. Rosemary is a wonderful accompaniment for flavor. So then I have some apple cider vinegar. Now you could use rice vinegar if you don't have apple cider, but I've got apple cider vinegar. And then I have here I combined some agave and olive oil. You could also have used honey if you want. You could do maple syrup if you want. You could do the dry sweeteners that we talked about. Okay, and then I have, the recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I didn't do the whole 1.5 teaspoons because sometimes cans of beans are salty. So depending upon what brand you use, your beans could be kind of salty. That's one of the reasons why you rinse and drain your cans of beans as they come out. So I'm starting at 1, and people have different salt tolerances. So I'm starting out, because this is a big recipe, you've got, a lot of beans in there. I'm starting out with 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I'm going to taste it and add more. So I just wanted to tell you my thought process. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to combine all of this. So you can see it makes a good amount.
You know what I love about these recipes, and sometimes we think, oh, we're going to go get an organic vegetable. We go to the farmer's market, or we get these beans, and we think, oh, it's so expensive. But the amount of food that it can make, just like how you were showing half the recipe, halving it, or the fact that it's these beans, how much you can get out of that.
Right.
And I know in the summer, it's kind of that potluck season, or sometimes you go and we're starting to share meals again with people. It is a nice, healthy recipe to bring.
Right, right. And on the other side of the coin, if for some reason you don't want to make the whole recipe, you could just half all those beans, put them in a quart Ziploc, and then you can use them again, and make another half of this recipe. So there's ways that you can work. Beans freeze well. And I have this jar here because this is another way you can put all of your salad and the sauce ingredients, which would be the vinegar, the agave, olive oil, salt, pepper. You can put them in a jar and just shake it. And then you can also do this with the Kabocha salad dressing. And then you have it just in the jar. You don't have to store it in there. You have extra dressing. And this recipe, what's really nice about it is, if you can see at the bottom, it says you can serve this over some cooked greens. Like if you have some kale or any kind of greens that you have from your garden or you bought from the store, chard, you can saute some garlic and greens and then put this over and mix it together. Have that as a meal variation. You can also add a little bit of veganese. It says here 2 teaspoons of nutritional yeast. So you could put that in add that to your bean salad. And then you can put it inside of a wrap, or I've been really into eating lettuce, putting different things in lettuce leaves and eating it that way, like a wrap, because the weather's just warm and it's nice and refreshing, which is probably what I'll do tonight too. Just make use of some lettuce or some nice big green leaf, tender greens from the garden. So that is this one, which is, and again, you can substitute out your beans, but these are nice different texture variants and very colorful. It's a wonderful, wonderful salad to have. Like Allison was saying, this is great for a potluck and to share with your family.
I have a question for you. How, I know some of these get so much better with sitting in the refrigerator, being
Mm-hmm.
overnight. How long
Mm-hmm.
would you keep this or in your refrigerator?
Oh gosh.
I mean, mine never lasts long enough, but I'm just
Well,
wondering.
yeah, right. And that's what I'm thinking. Usually about, I would say probably 4 days would be for me. But I try and be mindful of my beans, as I'm cooking, eating them and not having things sit too long in my fridge. But I know there's some people that will, hold things. If with the vinegar, it's definitely going to preserve things longer. I'm going to be conservative and say 4. I would think you could definitely do longer.
Yep. And I think, a lot of times people, they don't think canned beans that it's going to be great, that you always have to cook things, and they're so great just how they are. But I agree, I like to rinse them. Some people don't. I know there are different ways. If you were to, some people I know like to make beans from the dried beans, which is a whole different thing. But I think part of the joy of this recipe is that it's easy, it's fast to do. I am going to put you, if you don't mind, I'm going to spotlight you in the center just so we have, so everyone can see you, Chef. If you guys have some questions, we have how long to soak the red onions was one of the questions, if you're going to do that.
I just was prepping earlier, so I just soaked it all the way through. But I'd say, at least 10 minutes. Give it a good, some time in there, but it doesn't have to be like overnight or anything.
Okay, we have another question. Can we use fresh baby Wonbach instead of lettuce for a change?
Yes, of course. That'd be delicious.
Same thing, bok choy. I remember feeling like I'd always had it just cooked, and then someone took it out and used it in hummus, like the small ones, and it was so delicious. And I think that you guys get creative if you want to try something different. A lot of foods, they're so great raw, and it just depends on how you grew up, kind of stepping out of your comfort zone and going, let me try something different.
Yeah, and depending upon where it's coming from and how young it is, like I've got a little like tot soy in the fridge, and I've got some collards, and they're tender. So I just figure, hey, I'm going to use them like a lettuce leaf, So you kind of just gauge what's coming off the time of the year that you get all this nice fresh produce.
Allison, if you're talking, I think we don't
I
hear you.
was, that's right. I'm talking muted. You know why? Because I'm triple tasking. I'm like, who's no, I need to mute someone, and I muted myself. So I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint again. But Chef, while we have her just finishing our amazing meals here, any other questions while I pull that back up? Anything for you? Anything you want to add, Chef? This is before we I'm going to pull it back up for us.
Trying to think if there's anything.
Well, I'm going to pull it up, and for the people who got a different recipe, they will hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that. But I hope you were able to see we added the bean recipe right there for you. So it's in the link. If you need a new one, you can click on it, and then you can print that up. I'm going to also kind of come back to our slides here, and we have Chef in our background. It was fantastic. I do want to really acknowledge that, you know, these are recipes we want you to try, and hopefully you get some new flavors. We're going to do another class at the end of the month, next month. It's August 22nd, and we're going to learn some more beans, lentils. Talk about, you're going to have a lot of questions there. Red lentils, yellow lentils, brown lentils, French lentils. There's so many different wonderful lentil beans. And I think we're doing the barbecue ones. I do see someone has their hand up. Catherine, did you have a question before I move forward? I want to make sure. Okay. Also, just want to say, if you can't come, we have this class every month. We are so lucky to have Chef Alyssa. You've opened our mind to trying different flavor combinations, and the fact that we don't have to be scared. If you don't like cumin, try something different. It's all part of the joy of cooking and having a moment and going, okay, I'll try this. I never thought about rosemary. Let's put rosemary in there. So we have this. It's the fourth Monday of each month when we do these classes. So we're really happy that you joined us today. This is part of our series for lifestyle, medicine, and wellness. And part of what we want is we want you to feel like you have the ability to make some changes and participate in your health. It isn't all, you know, food is medicine, and culinary medicine is a big one. And so if you want some support and some help, we have dietitians who can also help you. We have great classes. We have health coaches and lifestyle coaches that can help you with your weight, help you get more active, help you talk about reducing stress or quitting smoking. So May, as I change this, I don't know if you mind putting in that phone number, that 432-2260. We're here to help you make changes, right? And we, like I said, we have amazing classes. So if you feel inspired and you're like, how do I get that healthy plate? How do I get my plate in shape? Every month, our dietitians teach a class in this format. You don't have to come in. You can be on your computer, on your smartphone, and join us and learn a few more skills. So we're really happy about that. We so appreciate your time. We hope that you really think about trying some of these recipes. And I am going to just kind of open up the floor to you guys. You know, you have this wonderful chef here that can answer some questions. It doesn't only have to be about these recipes. If you have questions, let's just go ahead and feel free to ask, since we have a little time. You know, we're usually so rushed, and it's so nice to just have a moment and have us do it in a way. I'm going to stop spotlighting your table and just spotlight you, Chef. You're going to be in the center because you just look. Although, wait, I kind of made it so now it's, yeah, it made you so big. I'll do both. Make it, there we go. Any questions for Chef while we have her here? There you go. Any questions? There we go. Look at that. Fantastic. You definitely, you're walking your talk. I love your apron. I love that you guys all joined us tonight. And beans, they're such a great filling food, you know, so we always kind of, I don't think they get a bad rap, but I just think sometimes people are scared. They think it has to be a main course. They think, you know, they only think of it one way. Are there other ways, Chef, that you like to use beans, like in different kinds of salads, different flavors?
Oh my goodness. Wow. I use beans all the time.
Or, yeah.
And yeah, just changing out, you know, black beans and like Mexican salad, whatever produce is on sale. You know, I like to do corn and black beans and bell peppers and add fresh avocado and lime, and, you know, or you could do the whole pinto bean thing. I mean, you can just change, you know, a different bean each day of the week, you know. And then there's the lentils. So you know, I just made a lentil loaf, and I had 3 nights of wonderful lentil loaf. So yeah, it's fun. And I just change them out. Like I probably, with this bean salad, I will probably add a little bit of pasta and fresh avocado, because I have a really big avocado right now. But there's so many variations, and it's so fun. And Allison is spot on. It's very filling, and it's a great source of protein and fiber. all the way around. You know, they're just, and economical. I mean, I do the, you know, pressure cooked. I used to pressure cook my dry beans a lot more than I do now. But canned beans are wonderful. You know, it's a lot for me. Sometimes it's a space issue because I moved, and so I don't have the space that I used to have to cook and store. And canned beans are just so convenient. They really are. You can store them, and they're great for, you know, any kind of emergency. You've got canned beans. You can do lots of things with them.
Yeah. You got one of our participants excited. They want the recipe for the lentil loaf now.
Oh,
It's
yeah, I'll
we'll
share
have
it.
to,
It's
yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, yeah. I tend to do comfort food. You know, growing up non-vegetarian, I used to love my mom's meatloaf, you know, with the ketchup on the top. So
Yep.
I recreate things, you know. And when I was younger, you know, I used to eat a lot of local food, so I recreate, you know, like stuffed tofu or, you know, things like that. You know, it's just that used to use pork hash and now, you know, use something else. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun, but I'm happy to share.
And you know what's kind of fun too is like I saw something, you know, those reels. I was going through Instagram and someone had made with red lentil beans, they made like tortillas. Like they made it so simply and
Hmm.
like you guys, if something excites you and you're like, oh, I didn't know what a great northern bean is. What's the difference between a cannelloni? Look it up, right? Because I got them mixed up
Yeah.
and sometimes you can't find the cannellini beans, I meant to say. But you can
Hmm.
find the great northern beans. That's how you
Yes.
say it, right? And
Yeah.
they're really good.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so, okay, so don't see how to register for the next class. You can call the 432-2260 to register. They are the fourth Monday of each month. Um, it's not under the kp.org, but you can call to register. The joy of this class is really the more the merrier. And so, yes, I know in the beginning I'm always saying everyone please mute, but it is such a joy to be able to see someone make something for us. You made 2 recipes in less than an hour, and I really
Hmm.
want people to realize it doesn't take a lot to add healthy sources of plant-based food onto your plate. So we really
Well,
appreciate it,
thank you.
Chef Alyssa. You make me hungry.
Thanks.
I'm really ready to go try it now.
I'm hungry too. Mhm.
Exactly. And I like that you
Mhm.
cut it in half the recipe in it. That's terrific.
Yeah. Make it work.
I have another question for you. You know how with
Hmm.
the pumpkin, like how say you half the recipe and you kept half, the other half raw. How long do
Hmm.
you think that is there all difference or how long would you keep a pumpkin or squash? Because they always seem like they last forever.
Yeah, kind of like cabbage, right? I just make
Yeah.
sure I wrap it either in a big plastic bag, and I'm big on like clothespins. You know, instead of a twist tie, I'll twist and do a little clothespin. Um, Keep it in the, you know, bottom of your fridge. Yeah, they'll last at least a week.
Yeah.
I try and use it up, you know, as I can, get creative. But yeah, they're just so wonderful and such a great source of vitamin A. Yeah. Um,
Yep, exactly.
yeah.
So,
Hmm.
all right. Well, I hope we got you guys all excited for our lentils next month. Please give these a try. If you have any questions, I'm going to stay on a little bit longer, but we really hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And
Thank
I
you.
always tell people before you go jump into something else, take a moment, feel mindful, take a nice deep breath, and just acknowledge that you went through this class and you learned a new skill. So, Chef Alyssa, thank you so much. Everyone's saying thank you to
Thank you.
you. We're really, really grateful for your time and your knowledge. All right. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.
Bye.
Thanks, Alyssa. Thank Allison.
You're welcome. You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you.
Always.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye, everyone. I'm telling you, the time goes so fast. I just love you're like my favorite new cooking show.
Oh, thank you.
Getting some thank yous to you. Fantastic. And I'm so happy that the setup was beautiful. And I'm putting you on the spot. I'm keeping you in the center because you just look so nice. I feel like I should be fair and undo my there, but you're spotlighted. But I'll come on over and say hello.
Thank you.
Because otherwise you're just kind of up on the screen, and I feel like it's not fair. Oh, so bye, you guys. We're so glad you came. Yeah. May, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, I should have let her ask the questions. I was just ready to juggle all the balls so you could just cook and our Heather could heal. So, all right, you guys, have a great night. If there are no questions,
Yeah,
Chef,
you too.
you can go and eat and enjoy your meal. You did a great job.
I'll go clean up. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Bye. Bye. I'm going to
Okay,
stay on a little
bye.
longer, but you can go. Take care.
Okay. Well,
Bye.
I'll stay on, just not visual.
Yep, there we go. Yep. Okay. Seems like everyone's doing great, going off. Hope you have a good time cooking. I love it, like your screen on yours froze, I see. There we go. It's so funny. All right, you guys, have a good rest of your night. I'm going to end our session. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.